Kristof, it's nice to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And yourself?
Good. Yeah, so for people watching, we were just talking, and that's why it's always awkward to say, "Hey, how are you?" But we're rolling now. It's not live, but we thought we'd have a chat because we record a chat because we have a lot of chats, and they usually go pretty good, and maybe some people will be interested to hear our chat. So here we are.
I wonder if every podcast starts off this awkward.
Yeah, I
Because
imagine.
they are talking before the podcast starts.
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, by the way, let's go ahead and turn on the mics and have a conversation again. It's kind
Unless
of like,
they're really diligent and they're like, "Don't look at me, don't talk to me. Come sit down, put on the headphones. Hi, how are you?"
I don't think it works that way. There's just no way. Just no way. But something we were talking about is the new all-time high. Well, rephrase that. Binance hit a new all-time high for Bitcoin today.
Mm.
Here's the thing that bothers me about that. Somebody bought Bitcoin at a new all-time high today.
That's true.
Can
They
let that
exist.
set in for a second. Somebody bought Bitcoin at its new all-time high today on Binance.
Hmm.
Am I the only one that sees something wrong with that?
It takes a set of cojones, I won't lie.
Got
Um,
bigger companies than I do.
Someone's got to do it, right?
Well, I mean, that's what they call it, right? Price discovery, right? I mean, that's what someone's willing to pay for it. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, would you pay $20,000 for Bitcoin?
I could get in some hot water if I said no. I guess the way to look at it would be on what time frame, because 5 years from now, maybe it was like a 100 IQ move, and we don't know yet. Short term, I'd be really scared though. I'm not gonna lie.
I was going to say, within the next 6 months, would you buy Bitcoin at $20,000?
Hmm. Well, okay. Here's another way of looking at it. What would you rather do with it? Because I assume if you're buying Bitcoin and it's this high, you've got a certain risk tolerance, so you would be maybe looking at something on the riskier side to invest in. And you've always got the stock market. Gold is kind of boring. Um, Under those conditions, I guess it's not the worst thing. But if you were to do it, you would absolutely need the mentality that there's probably going to be short-term pain here. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
at least a 50% chance, right? It's going up or down for sure.
Well, here's the way I look at it. The person, the person that would want to buy Bitcoin at 19,700 or $20,000 is somebody who's saying, "Oh my God, I need to hop on that bandwagon." Right?
Yeah.
It's not the person that says, "Oh, this is a good investment." No, not right now. It's not.
Financial freedom, sign me up. No,
Yeah,
it's I'm
right.
gonna get rich quick. Yeah.
Yes, that's unfortunately usually the ones who go there and buy Bitcoin at that price. And I don't know, it's such a tricky time because everyone keeps saying, "Oh, this is fueled by institutions." But the problem about this is, when has an institution ever market bought anything? They don't even buy gold on the market. It's
No, that's
OTC.
true. That's true. I guess the belief is that it does have a big impact eventually, just not right away. So
That
a liquidity crisis, a supply crisis, all types of crises happening right now, and it's the institutions that we have to thank for it. This is the rhetoric going around. They're the best thing ever.
Thank you, Grayscale.
They were also the worst thing ever in 2018. Um, yeah, it's funny how things change. Do you remember Backed? Do you remember the hype for Backed? It just
I was guilty of opium. I was
yeah. I mean,
guilty.
I
At first,
probably
I
was
was so
too,
guilty.
but I memed on it so much when it came out and it did nothing. So
It was a great disappointment. I remember the first time I heard about Backed and I broke the news on my channel. I was talking about how it was my video where I think I titled it, "There's not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire to own one." This was in 2018 when I did this video. And it's true. There's not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire on earth to own one Bitcoin. There's
nope.
not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire in America that own one Bitcoin.
Yeah, have you seen the
And
statistics? Over 8 billion people. It's such a small fraction.
yeah, so it's like when I look at this stuff, and I looked at back and what the institutions, I was looking through it through the eyes of somebody who really wanted to make a lot of money, who thought, I've got a sure thing. And it's always that I got a sure thing that just takes the wool and pulls it over your head and you can't see. And I was guilty of that. And so I really started learning more about how the institutions and banks play with the custody aspects and the ETFs and the derivatives and how it all worked. And then finding out that Backed was buying up all their Bitcoin on the OTC market. That's when I really woke up. I was like, wait a second. They're not market buying any of this. Everything they did was in the OTC market, and they're continuing to do everything in the OTC market as far as their accumulation goes, you know?
Hmm.
So it's just like, I don't know. It was eye-opening. And I was heartbreaking at the same time. I won't lie. I felt like an idiot. I did feel like an idiot.
Well, I wouldn't say so. Like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily too bad a thing. Like, I've always wondered where do these not that you feel stupid. We could all use some humbling. Um, but the OTC market, they have to acquire their Bitcoin from someone. So either they're getting it from miners,
Mm-hmm.
they're I don't know where they're getting it from.
No, it's miners.
It's
I know
miners.
that because I actually brokered a few OTC deals in 2019.
Hmm.
Um, so the suppliers were actually your OG Bitcoin enthusiasts, all right? They
Okay.
actually 2016 was the time that it actually awoke in these early miners into what they had. Right, 2016 was the year that they really woke up to what they had. That's when the dynamics started changing. 2016 was the year that banks were already fishing for the OTC market. That's when the OTC market really started growing. 2019 was a mass accumulation time because all more miners, more OG accumulators were saying, "Hey, you know what? I'll sell if I can get a bulk buy here." You know what I mean? Even though it was at a discount, um, it's crazy. But the miners are actually responsible for a majority of the OTC. I think Grayscale, if I'm not mistaken, Grayscale buys about 30% of freshly minted tokens or coins. So, I mean, and something the average cryptocurrency enthusiast doesn't know is the most expensive Bitcoin is actually not the coin that's on the market. The most expensive Bitcoin that you will get zero discounts for on an OTC market are virgin coins. Did you know that?
I knew that there was some value having no history because Bitcoin
Yes,
isn't a fungible thing. It has a full life cycle behind it.
that's right. Virgin coins are the most valuable Bitcoin on the market. So if you go to an OTC desk and you say, "Hey, I'm going to buy $500 million worth of Bitcoin," you'll probably get a three, maybe a 5% discount under what spot is. But the beauty is you make your full $500 million transaction right there at a discount, and the market moves zero. But if you're buying $500 million worth of Virgin coin, you could actually pay more than market cost for that Virgin coin because
Mm.
there's zero record to it. You can take it, put it in a cold wallet. You know what I mean? It's it's harder to, I guess you can say, track. Some people think. I don't think it's harder to track. I just think it's the nice thing about Virgin coin is the fact that it has no linkage to a dirty wallet.
Mm.
You know, a lot of us actually chain analysis. I saw a study somewhere, a project I was working with. God, where was it? Chain analysis says something like 80% of wallets has coins, whether it be cryptocurrency, I mean, Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies that are tied to some sort of malicious behavior or some sort of illegal behavior.
That's really interesting. I wonder how they find that kind of stuff out. But
Tainted wallets.
okay, it seems like a
Tainted
high
wallets.
figure. But don't they say like some really high percentage of notes have trace amounts of cocaine,
Yeah, I've
which
heard
is
that.
like that's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess all money is dirty, right?
Just pick your poison, I guess.
Yeah, Fiat Daily might have a lot to say about this,
As long as it's green, as long
as
as
long as
it's
it's green.
And not from
Which,
Zimbabwe. He learned that lesson once.
oh man, Zimbabwe. Speaking of like countries like Zimbabwe, have you seen what is going on around the world as far as the you disappeared.
Oh, hold on a sec. I'll be back.
Anyhow, while you figuring it out, have you seen what third world countries right now, their young population, what they're trying to do as far as learning how to mine, trade, and get into the cryptocurrency world?
Nope.
Yeah, India is a perfect example of it right now. I actually think that's why India is placing such heavy regulations. Is you're seeing the slums, like what do they call them? What do they call them? Slum dogs, the ones that live in the slums out there.
Slums. Yeah. It's not
Slums. Yeah,
favelas.
but the
That's the
people.
Spanish or something Brazilian.
Yeah, but they're seeing a shift of wealth happen there to where these younger populations are figuring out how to do stuff in the crypto space or trade or leverage trade and make money. And
Leverage
it's like,
trade. Yeah.
yeah, I know. It's like I said the bad words right there, leverage trade.
I
You
can
know, if you
only
would have opened,
imagine though, like on your phone. Yeah. Mm, mm-mm.
if you would have opened, could you imagine where you'd be right now if you opened a long in March?
Oh, underwater. So I put out a tweet recently. Was it's a well-known piece of information. 90% of day traders don't make money.
Mhm.
At least it's 90% or higher. It's like 90% on the low end. And the crazy thing is that that's for traditional markets, which are regulated and less prone to manipulation and less volatile. Can you imagine leverage trading in crypto? What that percentage is for people that lose money?
Holy moly!
Like seriously, what is it? Is it 98%? Is it 99? I don't know. Obviously, there's people that make money, and I'm not an advocate for banning anything. People should be allowed to do what they want, but mm,
One day we watched a video. You and I both saw this video where a particular YouTuber was showing the data from his trading team, profits and losses. This might recall something. It was a Bybit video,
uh,
and they had a trading team, and he was showing that his team didn't lose 95%. They lost like 70 something percent. But the way he did the numbers was very not very genuine because I took all his numbers and I ran it myself and it was 95%. I was like a 90 or 95% loss. Do you remember that video?
yeah, I do. I don't remember you running the numbers. I remember you telling me that that's what it was. And I thought that was really interesting, but it's
Yes.
not good, is it? Um,
No. So, I mean, but that's the only metric I actually have of,
okay.
I mean, as far as in the crypto space. But I mean, I don't know. But, it's like I call crypto that abusive boyfriend. It, um, it comes in one day and just beats you down, beats you bloody, and makes you not want to live. Comes in the next day with some flowers and chocolates, and all is forgiven. And that's how I describe the crypto market, whether it's leverage trading or just trading in general.
That's a
You know what I
dark
mean?
analogy.
But it's so true. It's so true.
Well, yeah, I guess we can get into that, how true that is. So I guess a lot of people right now are quite euphoric. They're quite happy. For the most part, anyone buying and holding, we already know traders are probably underwater, lost money. Unfortunately, it's just the name of the game. It's not like it's impossible to make money, but that's what happens for holders. Very unlikely that they've lost money right now. I think they had like an opportunity of 6 hours, if not less, to buy at a price higher than this. So yeah, easily 99% of anyone buying and holding Bitcoin is in profit. Um, uh, First of all, we are thanking institutions for getting us here right now. That's the rhetoric. I know you don't really like people buying OTC. You don't think it has an immediate impact, but you also don't really like them getting involved. And I thought your opinions on that were really interesting.
Yeah. Well, let me go to the very beginning of what you said there. Everyone's thanking the banks, basically the institutions, for this lovely gift of $19,000 Bitcoin. All
Mm,
right. It's like the first time in the history of banks and institutions, Wall Street, and all these other financial figures that they've actually made people rich. and not just their clients, everybody, right? So I mean, if you would have bought Bitcoin on that Black Thursday after the whole COVID thing, and you held on until now, you're doing really good. Me personally, I don't believe that we have the banks to necessarily thank this, because going back to the OTC market, why would any bank or institution buy Bitcoin on market right now? Because they can, it just gets more that Bitcoin. If they want to buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin to buy it on market, that Bitcoin just keeps getting more expensive as they're trying to buy that book, buy the books, right? It's just, when you go to an OTC desk and you can put out 100 million and you buy your Bitcoin, price doesn't move, you get a discount, and then you take it and you can sell it on market. I really believe that what we're seeing right now is um, is actually retail buying into a lot of hype. And maybe there is some whale manipulation, but I don't think it takes much right now, because no one's fearful. Everyone is so greedy. I'm like looking at the chart right here to my right, and I'm just looking at how fast the price is moving up. And historically, when this has happened, it's always been retail. And I'm worried that what we're seeing right now is we're seeing some retail again. Because I mean, what bank's going to buy Bitcoin at 17,783? I think it was. You know,
I think maybe I'm starting to understand you a little bit more because up until now, I don't think I have. And that's why I think we've been having interesting conversations because people that don't agree are probably going to have a more interesting debate than people that do.
I get slammed for this thought process a lot.
So, is it your opinion that one of the biggest problems with OTC markets is that they these institutions, will use they, will only buy from OTC? They will never buy from exchanges because, yeah, they don't want anything with a history. And that's so, and that's the problem because they never want to impact the price positively. It's always got to be OTC. Um, I still have a problem with it though because if you're a miner and you are looking to sell, you need to sell to someone, and if there isn't any interested party in OTC, you will find it on the exchange. So it is always going to have some sort of positive impact, but I can see it a problem where institutions back out because there's no OTC available. They're like, no, we're not going to buy any more Bitcoin now. That's it.
When it comes to the OTC market, Bitfinex is probably, you have Bitfinex and OSL are probably the two most well known as far as the miners go, right? So any miner that has more than probably 2 megawatts, uh, 2 megawatts, will be treated with open doors from Bitfinex and OSL as far as a platform to sell their Bitcoin. You really, as a miner, when you really start getting deep into the world of mining, it's frowned upon to sell your Bitcoin on the market,
Yeah.
especially if you become a bigger miner. It's like an unwritten rule, right? And that was and I was not acquainted with those kind of rules until I built that mining farm I used to have, and I started learning more from miners, and I got into that it's a culture. Like the mining culture is different. It's almost like some of them feel like they're the puppet masters of crypto. That's a true story. I'll be rephrase it, of Bitcoin. Some miners really feel that they're like the puppet masters of Bitcoin. I don't believe they are at all, but there's a culture behind it. And one of those things is you do not sell in exchanges, right? Because if you are producing, if you're a mining farm that's producing 100 Bitcoin a year, that's a lot of sell pressure, believe it or not. That really is. That's a lot of pressure. And if you have 10 other mining farms doing the same thing, that's an enormous amount of pressure. That makes someone else's mining expenses very expensive because the price of Bitcoin keeps going down or it gets put in check. You know what I mean? It's like an ecosystem where the miners cooperate with the trading desk cooperate with the institutions, and everyone cooperates with the market makers. It's it's I don't know. That's why when I see these kind of price gains, I'm not bearish. I just feel like I'm very realistic when I look at it. I am. Look at gold. Look at gold. right? I think it was in 2018. Price of gold hit like $1,300 and some change. Okay. And as the price of gold started going up, the ETF markets started liquidating underneath it. Like no one even told them. It was like 3 months before we hit an all-time high. And it naturally caused the market to have to sell, and the actual physical gold market to have to sell. It's, I don't know. I just feel like with Bitcoin, what we're seeing right now is an opportunity for those that have a lot more money than us. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's always going to be the case,
I
probably.
hate that though, And then how do you communicate that effectively though to the average retail investor that yeah, Bitcoin is someday on a long enough timeline. I do firmly agree we'll see a six-figure Bitcoin. I
Mm,
don't know when that timeline is. I don't. So I
mm.
think it's going to be next year or the year after that. No, I don't. I think there's more money to be made by shaking out these hopeful retail investors in both the spot market and in the derivative market.
Do you mind me like continuing to point to prod at
No,
your
have
ideas
at it.
here?
Have at it. Everybody watching or listening right now that's been very against me for the idea that I speak this way towards the price of Bitcoin has been waiting for someone to poke me with a stick.
Okay. My opinion is that OTC buying is only to be expected. There was one example of a guy that didn't do it and moved the markets massively. Do you remember? You won't forget this. Everyone watching will remember this. 2018, bottom of the bear market, we saw like a 30% candle in one day, and that guy didn't buy OTC. And as according to analysis, it was like there was, I forget how much he bought. It was a lot, but he did it coordinated to buy on this exchange, on this exchange, on this exchange, and do it sort of throughout a day, and massive impact on the price. I don't know if that was intentional. Like, okay, guys, this is it. I'm gonna do a big explosion here, and then we're out of the bear market. If that was intentional, or he just couldn't find any OTC, because I imagine it was probably harder to get your bids filled. Maybe OTC was already oversubscribed at that point. But my point is, I think that unfortunately the OTC market is a side effect of one of the I guess flawed incentives around Bitcoin. I hate to say that, but it is. I hate miners, right? And not you personally. I hate what they do to the price. It only crushes it. I understand they provide a service, they provide security, but at some point it becomes redundant to increase it. Like, we've got so much hash power behind the network now. It would cost, I think, billions of dollars per hour to reverse a few transactions. Like, it's just untenable at this situation to try and overtake. Like, okay, yes, there's probably some conspiracy theorists in the comments, like China could just take over the miners or something like that. But aside from that happening, which probably we could still get around it, but the fact that they get, I think, 600 Bitcoin a day or something like that. I'm not sure.
Roughly.
And they have that much Bitcoin to sell. This is the consequence we have to deal with. I would love to put forth a Bitcoin improvement proposal that says the next halving, we're moving it forward 4 years. It's happening now. Everyone signal for it. Push it through like we did with the user-activated soft fork for SegWit. Why not? I understand there'll be some critics, but it's too much, and it's Bitcoin's problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. The miners do impact price.
yeah,
They do,
they
but
do. So
but
does
the
any whale,
price,
and they just happen to be whales.
yeah, but their price impact is always to the negative. And
Yeah, that's true.
that's the same thing I feel about the OTC market, especially like it was rumored, never confirmed, but rumored in the OTC world in 2019 that JP Morgan Chase was the largest buyer of OTC Bitcoin in 2019.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think
That
that's the
was a
whole
rumor.
That's their whole business model. Tell people one thing, do the opposite. Isn't that
The
what they've
rumor,
been doing?
yes, the rumor got so big, even Tika Tawari from Palm Beach Confidential picked up that same story and
Mm.
included it in one of his publications. Now that's a whole different story. I can go on that one, but it's these guys buying these OTC Bitcoin. The thing is, they have so much unchecked power. On
Yeah.
how low can we go, right? You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. I don't feel like it's a good thing that these institutions are buying so much. Like, just like you don't think it's a good thing that the miners have such power and negative power, right, on the price. It's
Yeah.
like, when did we get away from the white paper of Bitcoin being the people's currency? How and why did we get away from that?
That's another
You know?
topic. Yeah, did
Yeah, I
Satoshi
know.
even want this? Didn't he describe a system that was used for basically microtransactions where the cost wasn't effective for a third party to intervene, like really small internet payments? Isn't that what he was talking about? At the same time, how could he have predicted the potential? I think he did talk about $1 million, or is it Hal Finney? If Bitcoin was to be used as the global currency, then it would be about $1 million per because of the amount of money in the world, just extrapolated to over 21 million. I don't know. He's not here to ask.
Right now everyone's calling me a bear or fudster. I
Yeah,
can see the
it's
comment
good
section
that this
growing right
isn't
now.
live, right? Just a stream
Yes,
of hate.
I could see it happening right now. I can feel it right now. The community just saying,
Oh,
"You're an idiot," but it's the truth. It's like, why did we ever want so badly? Actually, rephrase that. I know the reason for it. I think I'm being too naive on the or too kind. How about that? The reason why we're in this position is everybody wants to extract the largest amount of USD possible from their Bitcoin.
mhm.
That's it. Bitcoin is the vessel for everyone to take out as much USD as possible. And now that everybody wants that on the retail level, there's a player in this space that does it better than all of us combined. And that's the institutions and the banks.
Okay, so let's also talk about institutions. So I think we covered the OTC thing. It's an evil, but in my mind, it's a necessary evil. I think the more people that buy OTC, it will spill over because they're not selling. I guess you've got a point where they won't sell to exchanges anyway, but I don't personally see it as an evil. But yeah, I would hope that if they can't get any more from OTC markets, especially in 4, 8, 12 years, when miners won't have much anymore, which will be great. Um, that they would move on to exchanges, like we saw at the bottom of the bear market in 2018, the impact that a buyer can provide. But moving on to the institution's motives, I guess, is a juicy topic to discuss with. Why are they doing what they're doing, and is their goals just to extract as much USD as possible, or is it something more nefarious than that?
Um, my thoughts are, look at gold. I mean,
Mm.
these guys aren't interested in keeping gold parked in their basements. You know what I mean? Gold, gold products right now are crazy. You remember back in the 70s, every average person had gold. Here in the US, we had gold certificates. Basically, it was like a dollar, but it was backed by gold.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You can actually go to the store, spend it, buy whatever with it. After we left the gold system standard and went to the banking and trust standard, those became obsolete. Gold after the 70s wasn't that thing that the average Joe went out there and bought anymore and kept, you know, in their safes or in their underwear drawers or wherever they might have kept it. Right? It was a common practice for everyone to have gold. After the banks came in there and changed everything, and then we got the gold ETFs and these new gold products, which started as far surpassing the number of physical gold in the market. The institutions and banks started pushing the people to buy these products versus buying the physical gold and encouraging them to invest in these products because they're going to grow in value and make you a lot of money as investments versus as a means of exchange. All right. And as that model started rolling out, it who did it really benefit? You know, and an argument for this is the number of people in the United States that hold gold. I think it was 12%. 12% of the American population invest in gold. Okay, now this is something that we've had since beginning of time, right? Since we were speaking, gold was always valuable. 12% of Americans. It's 11 to 11.5% of Americans have Bitcoin. Did you know that?
No, that's a high figure.
That's a very, very high figure. This is where I say Bitcoin is that people's. It's like gold. It's for the common person. I feel like the motive for banks with Bitcoin is they see a huge opportunity to make money. That's it, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, okay. That was a less nefarious response than I was anticipating. But I think there's a lot to extract there. So,
Yeah, unpackage that bad boy.
yeah. So, obviously, the government had, I guess, an ulterior motive in removing interest in gold. They wanted the ability to print money that was
Mhm.
valuable. And in order to do that, they needed people to not think of gold as mandatory, essential, not used as a means of I
Yeah,
guess like a currency.
well said. Yeah.
Um, and I think another way that they did that is, I was looking for the news that broke around that time when Nixon said what he said. About coming off the gold standard, about all the countries that followed, it didn't seem from my research that it was considered a big deal, or at least it wasn't written in the history books as a big deal. There was several other things that happened that year that got more attention than coming off the gold standard, which to any Bitcoiner seems like one of the most important events in all of human history. You certainly wouldn't get that impression from a history book. And how in schools we're taught nothing about money, about assets, about holding anything. And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a dark hole to go in, that we're all being manipulated and controlled to a certain degree.
It was in 2019. There was an article that came out in 2019. It was on Forbes where there were fines that the European, God, some sort of European Commission made 10 or 11 banks pay fines for market manipulation.
Mm,
One of them was for manipulating Forex, and the other one was for manipulating gold.
okay.
Now that being said, though, here's the thing: everything happening right now with Bitcoin. Here's what sucks: none of this is regulated right now.
Hmm.
None of it. This is a playground. This is the Wild West, even for the institutions. I mean, imagine today Bitcoin's at $19,400, right? And the banks see that, okay, we've exhausted the retail purchases. They can tell that that it's exhausted. No one else can buy $19,000 Bitcoin right now, right? And imagine they open up a massive short, and then they start liquidating on the market, and they tank the price of Bitcoin. Let's say they would take that all the way down to $1,000. Okay, likelihood. I'm not saying that's ever likely. I'm just saying if they wanted to, liquidate it as far down as they could take it, what's the consequence that they're gonna face for that in an unregulated market?
Well, they get away with a lot of it unregulated. So, yeah, you tell me. Uh,
Exactly. I mean, what, are they going to pay a fine? They might even price in, right? Because they call it a cost of doing business whenever you pay a fine to the government,
that's right.
or if they call it, it's price of business. So, or the cost of doing business. I mean, they might even say, you know what, we're going to set aside $1 billion for all the international lawsuits or governments coming after us, and we're going to go ahead and pocket 99 billion of it.
Yeah,
I
what
mean,
was that EOS fine? So they raised 4 billion. They got a fine of like 3, 5 million or something.
yes,
Even if it was 30 or 50 million, yeah, slap on the wrist.
it's a
So
cost of doing business.
okay,
I'm doing the wrong line of work. What am I doing on the YouTube channel?
so let's unpack that.
Kidding.
Let's unpack that because I
Yeah.
like this kind of stuff, right? I guess I think this kind of stuff's rare online because it's the positive stuff that gets the views, the clicks, and it's the negative stuff which doesn't. So we have the system
Yeah.
where it's hard to be an influencer and talk about stuff like this. So I really like it. I really appreciate it. So you said basically this could one of the things that they could do is get a lot of Bitcoin, get a huge position. Once they see that retail has exhausted itself, shorts 100x leverage, they've already got all of the Bitcoin to make massive amounts of money from it. Do you think that's what they did with gold? So one of the reasons they, I mean, they accumulated gold, did they not? They got lots
Yes.
of it. One of the reasons they did that was so that they could create the sell pressure later. That's necessary. And there's multiple ways of doing that without like direct selling. But you could create what's known as spoofing, where you create these massive sell orders just above the current price, and it looks super bearish to any chart analyzer. It's like, oh, I need to get out. But they don't actually really intend on selling that much. And they'll just move it down to keep it there, like a thing over your head that's terrifying you. But another way that they manipulate gold is to create a lot of paper. A lot of paper gold. I think you gave the figure of 12% of Americans have gold. I'd want to know what the percentage of those Americans actually have physically backed gold. And I imagine it's not all of them. It's not 100%. Um, I don't even know if it's 10. Certainly the ones that have physical in their house is probably very, very small. Probably a lot of people don't know if their gold is physically claimable with their slip of paper or whatever they've got.
Hmm.
So do you think that's what they want to do with Bitcoin? They view it as a threat, or is it just a way to make money out of people just by trading essentially on an unregulated market?
I think it's both. We know it's inevitable that regulations coming in on Bitcoin. I mean, look at what the U.S. Treasury is trying to pull right now on KYCing your ledger before you can transact it into an exchange to turn it into fiat, right?
Like a middle
So,
finger on the way out of the White House. Yeah,
yeah.
I saw that.
So, I mean, it's inevitable that regulation is coming. So, I think they're playing both games here. A, it's unregulated now. Let's go have fun. B, at some point, it's going to be regulated. So, let's go ahead and control the supply. I mean, institutions are not only the largest purchasers of Bitcoin in the world right now. Is Grayscale, I believe, is the largest purchaser of Bitcoin on a weekly basis right now, publicly, anyways. Um, I believe Fidelity Digital Assets, or Fidelity in general, sorry, is the largest purchaser of hash power right now. If I remember that correctly. So, I mean, you just have accumulation of available supply, and accumulation of freshly minted Bitcoin. I don't know. I feel like they're posturing themselves to control the actual supply of Bitcoin, and at some point shove the derivatives, the ETFs, and the other financial products down the throats of their investors. I mean, look at gold. It had a bear market for how long? It had a pump, and then a bear market for how long? And then in, what was it, 2002, 2003, it started pumping like crazy. And then 2011, 2012, the price of gold dumped, right? Hard. You know, I mean, and in both situations, the ones who made the most money are the ones who played the futures market. You know what I mean? I don't know if you had enough money right now with Bitcoin, the future is bright for you because you could easily play the futures market. Like you said, in 2018, there was one whale who moved the market by 30%. Was that just because the OTC market was dry? I don't think it was. Or was it just because he wanted to see if he could? Or maybe prove a point, maybe even wake some people up. One well moved the market 30%. I believe it was you that did a video recently that mentioned that in the current, whenever the market is going up, the data shows that this is the time that whales are selling into this pressure, right?
Yeah, there's a whale index indicator, which is pretty useful. And they surprisingly actually know how to buy low and sell high.
Really?
Yeah. Unlike retail traders, they actually do it.
You disappeared again, by the way.
Sorry, my DSLR only goes for 30 minutes. So there we go.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So another thing, though, is that a lot of these institutions are custody services. So some of them are asset management. So like you give them money, they have free reign. They'll give you reports on what's happening, but you essentially trust them with your funds, and then yeah, they can go have fun. The other ones, it's like I think Grayscale. I'm not sure. You tell them I want Bitcoin, they give you Bitcoin. They don't sell that Bitcoin until you tell them I want to sell my Bitcoin. So
The way, from what if from my understanding, from me asking as many questions as I could about it, the way it works with Grayscale is it's custody, right? So you want Bitcoin, they buy the Bitcoin. You never get control of the Bitcoin.
mm-hmm,
They own the keys to Bitcoin. You want to pull profits from your Bitcoin, they sell the Bitcoin, they send you USD.
mm-hmm.
You say, hey, I want a new Learjet. Great, I'll sell some Bitcoin. Right? So I mean, that's from I understand, that's how Grayscale works. I could be wrong, but that's from what I understand.
And obviously the biggest danger around that would be show me the money. Show me
Mhm.
those wallets, please. Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's a funny one because they obviously are a very wealthy company. They're not going to be brazenly breaking the law if it's going to hurt their potential to generate revenue in future. But at the same time, if they've got some sort of agreement with the U.S. government, they know something, then being able to sell a product without having any of it is quite uh, yeah,
I got one for you.
a nice feature for them. Go on.
I got one for you. Okay. So when I think about Grayscale and I think about that custody and I think about all that Bitcoin, all I can think about are hackers. That's all I can think about is hackers. I think there was a somebody put some numbers out one time saying that you had a 0.002, I think it was, percent chance of randomly guessing someone else's seed phrase.
Right.
It's a really low percentage. It's less than 1%,
Yeah. It's
but it's
24
possible,
words. Like there's got to be a chance of that happening.
right? Especially as more wallets grow. But anyhow, there's no 0% chance of getting hacked in Bitcoin. Unfortunately, there is no 0% of that. All I can think about is what would happen if some hacker got in there and took control of all that Bitcoin. I mean, that would be a catastrophe. But the reason that's relevant right now is Ross Ulbright had what was $1 billion worth of Bitcoin from
I don't
Silk
know.
Road. Well, remember that got hacked, right? Well, the hacker that took it from him actually moved the Bitcoin, and somehow the U.S. government got all of that Bitcoin. Somehow you see so many stories about how the U.S. government went and confiscated somebody's Bitcoin. And we're not ever talking small amounts of Bitcoin. We're talking in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin. That was just someone said, "Okay, fine, here you can have it." I don't believe it. I
Hmm.
just don't believe that somebody just said, "Here, you can have my Bitcoin. I'm going to just give you my Bitcoin." Part of me wonders if if our government officials have figured out a way to infiltrate and confiscate Bitcoin at this point.
That's just too borderline for me. I'm sorry. We have we have the Chinese saying that they've claimed the funds from that now defunct Ponzi scheme plus token, but on-chain analysis disagrees and says, even though that news story broke recently, the coins haven't moved in 100 days. How can you have claimed something and be so confident as to leave it in its original wallet, not believing that anyone else has got access to it? So, plus the fact that Bitcoin's open source, I don't know. Also, Grayscale won't have everything in one wallet. So, I don't know. It's a good point. It is a good
Yeah.
point. We should think about it. But as far as things that I'm concerned about, I think there's more pressing things. If it,
What would you
I
say
don't
they
know.
had? What would you call the biggest danger right now in the Bitcoin space?
Global catastrophe, like an asteroid, would be number one. That's the
Okay.
level we're getting to.
That's now
Yeah.
you're talking about like actually like extinction level events. I'm talking Bitcoin like
Okay.
stuff here. Like
All right. Um,
greatest direct threat to Bitcoin. What do you think that is?
I think there's a few that I don't know which one to place higher. So we have
Okay.
a bug. We had an infinite inflation bug that no one exploited as recently as like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
We have the threat of quantum computers getting really, really good and clever. Just coming out one day, all the coins are gone because it can brute force attack any wallet. We have, I guess, the original Satoshi stash, which is rumored to be 1 million Bitcoin. One of the things, if we're getting more into like fringe conspiracy theory territory, was one of the reasons why. What's that guy's name that everyone hates? Creator of,
Roger.
in addition to him, Satoshi's vision creator,
Craig Wright.
Craig Wright. How did I forget his name?
I
Him
don't know.
and his mining buddy friend, Calvin Ayre. One of the reasons that they're interested in working together is because Calvin's got this huge mining farm, which is a lot of computational power to potentially brute force open a wallet. And if how did I forget his name again? I'm really actually really really bad with names.
Craig Wright.
Craig Wright. Uh,
It's because he's that despicable of a person. You just don't want to.
my brain just can't. Um, if he knows the
Not worth the
wallets,
mental real estate.
yeah, if he knows the wallets that have the funds, which is a big thing, if he knows which ones they are, which I don't know if he does, but if he does, he'd say divert your hash power and brute force this one because it'll be worth it. That would be a lot of sell pressure. 1 million coins is something ridiculous in dollar value.
Where
There's
are
a
we at
few.
right now? Let's do the math.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few more. Um, I guess we've already discussed one, which is the institutional involvement being,
19.5 billion, by the way.
yeah, okay. You do that at once, you open up a short. Not only do you prove to U.S. authorities that this thing is like manipulatable, do not approve any ETF, but you also wipe out people's confidence. You wipe out, I don't know, it'll probably recover, but you just wouldn't like to see it. There's a few
I
things. There's a few, of course, but with something so new, so I don't know, like for a business, if you were to decide how valuable it is, one of the things is like, what does it provide? What does it give the market that no one else is doing? And if it really occupies a completely unoccupied space, then that is something special. And I think that's what Bitcoin provides. No, there's nothing else like it. And I mean, there's this Ethereum, there's Litecoin, but in general, when I say Bitcoin, I mean cryptocurrency. There is nothing else like it in the world. So I personally wouldn't want to be short on the asset long term.
One of my biggest fears right now, when it comes to Bitcoin, is the younger population. Um, Bitcoin is actually where it's at now, as far as popularity, innovation, because of the younger population.
That's true.
But this new generation of teenager and early 20s are not seeing cryptocurrency and Bitcoin for what it actually is. Um, I'm gonna have to say maybe 2017 probably just what changed the entire perspective, the entire narrative, right? But up until 2017, everyone looked at this as technology. It's like truly, this is technology that can change the world. We can solve these problems. We can do something massive. Now it's like, how can I make as much money as possible? You know,
Yeah. So I guess this is like the last topic that I wanna touch on with you today, and it's kind of a big one. But Ponzi, is it one or
mm,
is it not? Is it more Ponzi like in your opinion because of the whole narrative of store value, and or not? Um, and does that narrative go against its original intention? If so, if that is that a bad thing? Why? What's your thoughts on that?
with
I've
the
asked something
HODL
big here.
narrative.
I can tell.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to determine how badly I want the community to try and kick me in the head here. Um, oh hell
We're,
with it. This isn't my
we're
YouTube
53
channel.
minutes in. The only ones still watching right now are the hardcore who are here for you just as much as me. They want to
Okay,
know.
so
They want to know how you really feel.
with the HODL narrative, we're playing the same game that Wall Street plays. Okay, that's the Wall Street narrative. That's the hang on to something and it's going to grow in value. It's an investment narrative, right? And the only way that investment keeps growing is if you hang on and you can get more people to buy it behind you to pick it up,
Is
pick it
not the
up,
whole
pick it up.
world like that at the moment, generally?
Generally, so I mean, yeah, generally speaking, I mean that's what it's economics, I guess you could say, right? It's
Mm.
almost any investment. Bitcoin was not ever meant to be that. Bitcoin was meant to grow in value by adoption. Adoption meaning I'm going to use it to go buy something. I'm going to use it to, I owe you money, or I'm going to pay you to do something for me. You know what I mean? That's what it was made for. Now we're saying, hey, Bitcoin is not made for that. It's too slow. Remember all the layer two solutions that used to be out there? They're like disappeared. No one even talks about the layer two solutions anymore. They're all gone.
Like
It's
atomic
like
swaps, side chains, drive chains, Lightning
Lightning Network.
Network.
No one talks about it. They're all gone. Now, with a HODL narrative, the goal is I'm going to buy this, I'm going to hang on to this, and at some point it's going to be worth a certain dollar amount that I'm going to sell. And when I sell it, someone's going to buy it. Right? That's where we're at. It's the Ponzonomics are definitely there. I can't say it's a complete Ponzi scheme, but we're implementing the same Ponzonomics that you see with Wall Street. And I really feel like this actually all got started with people like Anthony Pompliano, stuff like that. He goes on Fox News and CNBC and talks about Bitcoin. Everyone's like throwing their hats off and celebrating. Yet he's talking about, the store value, and it drives me nuts because everyone forgets like what a credit card used to be like. Credit card, when you used to like swipe a credit card, you had this carbon paper, this little machine. Put your credit card in there, carbon paper. You slid the thing on top of it. It was mailed in. It take days, if not weeks, before your credit card balance actually reflected your transactions. Right? Debit cards were clumsy when they first came out. You know, they'd actually put excessive holds on your debit cards when you purchase something just to make sure that things were done right, or worried that you'd overspend. And it was, I mean, and there's still times you do excessive holds like at gas stations, but because that's a different scenario. But with Bitcoin, I just feel like if we would just use it, just spend it, find ways to incorporate in everyday life, I I feel we would have a more sustainable, less manipulated level of growth.
So Ponzi like, not a Ponzi.
Ponzi like, yeah, Ponzonomics are definitely there, but not a Ponzi scheme. Make sense?
Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense. Um, I think that's a rational take. I don't really think people could be angry at that. Honestly, I don't think anything you've alluded to the fact that some people would be angry at what you're saying. I don't think there's anything that you've said's been unreasonable, apart from maybe
Oh,
like one thing. If I just didn't agree.
what is there's a law, some sort of financial law that everyone preaches at me. about you're supposed to spend your bad money first and then good money works. What's that called? You ever heard of that?
No.
I get lectured that one all the time. But when I hear that, I forgot what that's called. Someone will comment or say something, and it'll come back. I forgot what that law is called, but basically, a lot of people say, well, the reason why Bitcoin is not being adopted, it needs to be a store value, it needs to be hodled, is because we have to wait for the U.S. dollar to die first. Bad money has to die first, and then the good money comes in second. But then my first thought to that, and every time I hear it, is like, so one Bitcoin can only be worth $20,000 because it's pegged to the US dollar. So, what does one Bitcoin become worth if the USD fails and all other currencies fail? Because we have no established BTC value. And when I say that, like my phone sitting right here, what is the BTC value of this phone?
Mm.
Not in USD or GB or Great British Pounds or yen or any of that. What is the Bitcoin established value of this phone right here? Without tying it to USD.
Yeah, that sounds like a headache. I guess that's what they had to do back in the day with gold. It's like, how many chickens can this nugget buy me type of stuff. I wouldn't really want that. A backing of some kind, some denotional value is very useful. But yeah, no. So I guess one of the reasons why I asked about the whole world being like that now is we've seen an unprecedented hit on commerce this year. We've seen all businesses alike take a massive hit, and what we saw in the stock market was it go up. And increasingly, the idea of a hodl narrative is stronger than ever before, even in like economics in general. I think it's always been there. From the beginning, we had from the inauguration of the stock market. I don't think that's the right word, but from the start of it, from until today, we've had, I think, 6 to 8% annual returns. So obviously, the longer you're in, the better, and that would denote not selling. But at least, during a world war it went down, or a crisis, it went down. So increasingly, more than ever, assets are really, really important. I think anyone waiting for the dollar to die is going to be waiting a really long time. I don't think that's a rational investment rationale because yeah, you might not see it in your lifetime. I think people
What's
that
this Fiat Daily coming out?
it came from somewhere, right? Um, so I think there are a lot of issues with using, like, spending anything, trading a Pokemon card, trading some gold, trading some stock, especially buying stuff with your Bitcoin if it can be avoided, even though it goes against one of the reasons it was created, the only reason it was created, to be a transfer of commerce, to buy something. That's literally what it was. But it's not. It's also not designed for that. If it's gonna transact the world's money, it's gonna be a lot higher in value. Satoshi knew that. It was programmed that way. That was the only way to get people interested in it, was to promise them, not promise, but show them some gains. Right? We won't be here making these videos if if Bitcoin didn't go up in value. We would never have heard about it. So, in a way, I think it couldn't have been done any other way. In a way, I think maybe we can get there in a very long time when the market cap of Bitcoin is 2, 3, 4 trillion, and it is quite stable, like a national currency on the Forex market. I think it will be pegged against other nations' currencies. Why not? Is it a Ponzi? I think is kind of a wrong question to ask, because what isn't in this world? Everything is some sort of pyramid structure. It's interesting that there is a pyramid on the US dollar. It's designed to go from the top to the bottom, or however you look at it. There's always a hierarchical structure.
Funny.
There's always people going to be benefiting more from any technology. There's always going to be whales. There's always people going to be making more money than you. If we could have a fair distribution, if it could transact really quickly, if all of these things, yes, I agree. Hopefully we'll get there, but I guess we have to make some compromises because there aren't really that many other choices right now.
Oh, there's not. That's the truth. That's capitalism. It's where we live in.
Mm.
No matter how you weigh it out, it's you don't even need to describe it like that. The way you said that, it really is no wonder that people flock to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. It really is no wonder people take their chances here versus that lottery ticket. Did you see that tweet Peter Schiff put out today?
I have him muted on Twitter. I did not.
Oh, he said that basically the price of Bitcoin is going up, not as a result of people dumping or jumping ship, sorry, from gold. It's lottery ticket buyers, gamblers, sports bettors, and casino players and stuff like that. Basically saying that the lowest of the low, basically, is what's supporting Bitcoin right now. And I didn't like the context he put it in because I felt like he was beating up on those that are financially challenged. Or I felt like he was beating up on those who take risk to change their financial situation, right? And but as you said, the world we live in today, it really is no wonder, no surprise that people come over here and take the risk that they take, willing to play the games that are out there in the cryptocurrency space to try to change that financial position to where they don't feel like they're a victim to the pyramid scheme of life, the pyramid scheme of of bills, and I don't know. It's just kind of strange. I know when you put it that way, it's kind of that's what it made me think of. Is I understand more why people take the risk over here.
Did my passionate speech make you a believer?
Yes, it did. You sold me.
All right. And with that, I think we'll end it there. Pleasure talking to you, man, as always. We should do this again, I think.
Yeah. Next time there's something I want to talk to you about with like everyone listening.
Yeah.
There's a video you did a long time ago. I've never forgotten it, and you're acting really silly. At the very end of the video, you said, "My poor wife." We have to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
What
for
happened
sure.
to that silliness?
For sure, I'd love to. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. If you're still here to the end, you know, big props to you. Let us know what you thought. Let us know any topics that you would like us to talk about in future, or let us know if we shouldn't do this again, in your opinion. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Like, that wasn't bad.